Welcome to my tutorial for Kid Niki, Radical Ninja for the arcade. This one took around 7 hours, 41 minutes to beat. I actually stopped playing this game for a few years because I got to the final boss. It was just complete bullshit. So I couldn't figure it out. I tried save state practice for probably like an hour or two back then, and I just said fuck it. I couldn't figure it out, but I still had it on my fucking list for games I wanted to go back to and try to complete. So I lost my save from back then, so I replayed the initial stages before the final stage, which took me a little bit over an hour this time. Actually, it took me about half the time to get back there this time, so I got back faster. It wasn't too bad. And as far as arcade games go, this is like this difficulty doesn't really stand out. It's kind of it's challenging, but it's kind of moderate for an arcade game. You know what I mean? Arcade games can be pretty brutal of this style back then, especially during this period. So there's probably going to be some deaths that I missed in editing, but for the most part, I'm going to show all the lives where progress was made. Like if I get to a checkpoint, I'm going to show that actual gameplay. But if I don't make it to the next checkpoint, then those deaths are going to be edited out. I just want to show the actual lives where I got to the next checkpoint is basically what I'm showing here. So the game is not really going to get super hard or anything until the end, but there'll be a few things to note. I'm not going to go by step by step every movement, but I'm going to try to detail anything that could easily be missed. So I'll try to go over that. The main thing to cover is the final boss, which is really fucking ridiculous, and it probably took me over 4 hours, in total. I think I spent about 2 hours this time when I replayed the game again, but that was with heavy save state practice, and very hard to figure out how to deal with the final boss. But I'll try to detail that. For this one, this guy jumps at you, just hit him with your sword. Very easy. The game has infinite continues, and you do have mid-stage checkpoints. Now I am playing the US ROM, so I did read that the world ROM may be harder, but I'm not really sure about that. That was based on the AI. It said the world version has no checkpoints and shit like that, but I haven't confirmed that, so I can't say. Sometimes that shit is not too accurate. So here it's still pretty simple. You can kind of just run through and stab everyone. This game has a really weird control where it controls well until you realize that every time you jump, it's like there's like wind, like invisible wind, like pushing you back whenever you jump, and it will push you into shit when you're trying to do precise maneuvers. So I don't know why they added that into the control scheme, but other than that, the game controls well. But it just has that one fucked up thing that they decided to include. It's more of an issue on the final boss because you really have to stay in these gaps between these flames, and when the control moves you back a little bit, it can really throw you off. It is one-hit deaths, like most of these old arcade games. So here we're going to see the first death on this guy when I didn't know what to do on him. I did edit out one of my failed attempts on the caterpillar boss because I ran out the entire timer trying to figure out what to do. It's actually easy to survive, but it's just a waste of time to view in the tutorial. But I do show that fuck up in the full playthrough, which is also edited, but this is just edited down slightly more. I just removed that one scene from the gameplay, but that is an edited playthrough as well. I didn't post up the full nearly 8 hours of failed attempts. I have shown a lot of that though, in preview videos and stuff like that, where I'll show failed attempts. I'll show the full sessions, so if you want to see that, you can check that out on the channel. I just didn't compile it all into one video. So that guy, you can kind of just jump over his yo-yo move and get an attack in. You always have to retrieve your sword whenever you hit a boss, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. But the guy is really not that difficult. You can see where the openings were. Not much to explain there. You want to jump from that bottom cloud because otherwise you don't have enough distance to get to the clouds that you need to be on. Take out this guy with the bomb because he'll cause problems. Those guys are really fucking aggressive. if you're on solid, flat ground, you can kind of like dodge their bombs by moving back when they release the bomb, and that's the way to deal with them, but it's kind of hard to deal with them when you're in the air. So here is the next checkpoint. Not a hard stage, though. The game doesn't really get difficult until a little bit later, but it never gets that hard until you get to the final fucking stage, which is just a freak show. I mean, I've, beaten a lot of these old-ass arcade games and some brutal shit, but I mean, that was just like, it just didn't even make any sense, Sometimes in these old arcade games, you get shit that's just fucking cheap, because they want your money, but it's just a bullshit sequence all around. But there are ways to exploit it, and then there's a strategy I use for the final form, which is really important. I'm going to show a safe spot, and you can also time out the first two forms of the final boss. But I wouldn't really recommend timing out the first form, because I think hitting the final boss in all of his phases, I think that takes down his hit point total for the final phase. If I'm guessing right, I never tested it, but I would say don't bother timing out the first form, as it's easy. So for these, you want to like hit them in their ass, it seems, and it seems better to deal with the big one, but it seems like you just got to hit this thing in the ass, like hit one of the clones in the ass. One of them is the one that takes damage, I think. If it stays big, you can hit the big one in the ass for a while and get some hits in. If you manage to kind of combo it by hitting it in the back and getting under it, you can do that. If it throws out those monster projectiles, you can just destroy those with your sword. Otherwise, they're really fucking hard to dodge. So for these things, they're a little tricky. I like to trigger them to come at me, and then I'll jump and smack them. So this one's a little tricky. Some of them are a little higher up. I think it's this one. I'm doing it fast here because I got used to it. For these, I usually like to just stay out of range of the flame and then jump. When the flame goes away, I take my jump. So I'll get it to put the flame out, but then when the flame dissolves, I'll usually jump over it. I don't like to try to really kill them. I mean, you can, but it's a little dangerous. You can always just jump over them if you get the range just right. But this part's dangerous because there's an asshole right here, so I killed the frog here because otherwise it's very hard. So make sure you kill that frog and then lure that one out and jump and smack it. You may have to practice this part a few times to get all the luring correct and the path correct, but it's really not too hard. It's a little tricky though. It's probably one of the trickier parts so far up until this point, but nothing crazy. So now we're at another checkpoint. As long as you get out of that cave, you're good to go. You got a checkpoint. And that's what it's all about in these games, unless you're doing a 1cc, which I don't think you're going to do on the first try. But it's just about getting to the next checkpoint, even if you die. It doesn't really matter. Because this game doesn't have any power-ups, really. It has a few, but they're so rare. I will show a few incidents where I actually got the power-up, which I don't even think I did when I first played the game. I don't even know if I knew about that. I think I was killing it fast. So here's the proper attempt at it. That was the first time I got to it, so I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. I think it tells you to destroy all the segments, but I never read all that. I don't read all that bullshit on the screen. I'm like, fuck this shit, man. Anytime I gotta read something, I get fucking irritated. I just play the fucking game. That's why I mostly skip any kind of text story in games. I mean, I'll watch the cutscenes the first time just to check out the presentation, but yeah, so after this last segment, which you can kind of see how I'm striking them, so you get the idea with that, but after that, just hit the head maybe 3 times and it should die. The only thing that could be hard about this boss is not really understanding what's going on with the segments and shit like that, but you don't want to waste time, attacking the head until all the segments are done. The only time you'll attack the head is if you want to push it back. And then once all the segments are cleared out, then you can actually damage the head. So this part's actually tough. I try to clear these guys out as I'm moving. This is probably the hardest part so far. Or one of them. And then you want to try to get in here quick when you have a gap, clear out some of the guys and keep moving. But it's actually pretty hard. One of the harder sections. And then this part is pretty tough too because there's a part with these guys that keep coming down. I'm going to show how to do that. This just move through and strike these guys, as you'll see, and that was the, I got pretty far on that particular attempt, but this is the actual proper attempt. So, You just want to clear out these guys as you're moving. I don't think I really deal with the guys behind me too much if I don't have to. So you want to get here, and then once you get to this little dispenser here with these spear enemies, pivot and turn backwards, and just keep mashing the attack button. And then the guys will channel into your sword. That's the main thing. Once you know that, this section is pretty easy. But if you don't know that, you don't know where they're going to go, they'll just kill you. You can take your time just jumping and clearing these guys out slowly and moving back. You don't have to run through. So I recommend just trying to clear out all the enemies because they'll do spastic shit. These guys are not really worth keeping alive because they do some quick shit. So even if I tried to run past that guy, it's a little dangerous. Better just to kill them all. So this is where I die on the boss, but this boss is super fucking easy. You'll see after I die here. Probably the easiest boss in the game. So just hit him immediately when he jumps in. And go back to this cement wall, hit him again. Wait for his projectile and then retrieve your sword and go hide behind the gray wall. And just rinse and repeat. The only dangerous thing about this strategy is when you go to retrieve your sword, if you do it too early, you might get hit by the projectile. But, just be a little bit patient. Wait for the projectile to go over your wall and then you can go and retrieve the sword. Then there's going to be some fucking demon babies or some shit that run at you. So, take the time to clear them out and then get your final hit on the boss. So this part can be tricky for sure, but there is a way to deal with it. Once you clear out all these guys, this is the hard part here. I saved in case I needed to practice, but I ended up beating it on this attempt. But I failed it a lot. So kill that last guy in the chain of enemies and you're going to get this power up. Now that you have this power up, you can now make things easier by clearing out these assholes. You want to clear out as many of these bubble assholes as you can. I didn't really do a good job of it, and I still had to do some weird maneuvers, but you really don't want to let these guys live because they make it really hard. This is the hardest part of the checkpoint, so to get that power up, make sure you kill the last enemy in the chain of those enemies that are chained together. Rewind it and see the item I collected. I got that by killing all the enemies in that chain, but the thing is, you don't want to kill the last enemy in a place where you're not going to be able to pick up the power-up, like over a pit or something. You want to kill the last one near a platform so you can grab it safely. So just remember that. Once you do that, it's not too hard to get to this area, which is the next checkpoint where you see I died, but I got the checkpoint. So that part is one of the harder parts, but if you know about the power-up, the power-up makes it so you can get through a lot easier. So here I was trying to do something you would normally do like in a Mario game, you drop and hold right, but no, it doesn't work. Don't do that. The controls are not that fucking good, you can't expect that. So here I'm going through it successfully, and this time I'll jump. But this can be tricky with all these bubble assholes, and now you don't have a power-up to deal with them, so you just gotta try to get to this ladder safely, which may take some luck. So here we'll see me fail this boss. It's actually one of the easiest bosses as well. But you have to hit it at a specific time. I think you got to hit it when its spear is pointed down, if I remember right. We're going to see it in a moment. Because eventually I will just die on it. But it may take a while since it's so fucking easy not to get hit. So maybe I should have edited this out too. But short gameplay either way. I mean, the game is pretty fucking short. But after we go through all this shit, then you'll see how to do it. It's super easy. But it only takes damage when the spear is pointed like down diagonal, I believe, is how it works. But I'll confirm it when we see the actual proper fucking playthrough. Alright, good, I finally fucking died. So here's what you actually do on it. You gotta lure it to do a diagonal stab, and then you jump and hit it in the head, basically. Like that. It doesn't seem like it'll corner you and kill you, so just let it go up to the wall. And that will trigger it to attack. And then you just smack it in the head when the spear is at that, pointed, that downward angle. So now I believe we're at the hardest part of the game, the final stage, so I'm going to try to cover this. best I can. I'll probably have some post commentary. Actually, no, there's one more stage. So for these bomb enemies, they're actually really hard if you don't know what to do. Well, you got to wait for them to drop the bomb and then move backwards. I mean, it's really easy to dodge once you know that, but if you're trying to run past them, they'll just destroy you. So wait for them to drop, lure them to drop the bomb and just move back immediately, and you'll dodge that. Other than that, you're just dealing with regular enemies here. So now get this bell. This is going to give you a area of effect, kind of like a rotating shield that takes enemies out. Use this to run through and get as far as you can. It'll save you trouble of having to do all that shit, normally. So try to get as far as you can with this shield. I don't really recommend, stopping to fuck around. I would just keep moving. But I die here anyway, but at least I got the next checkpoint. It's one of the rare instances where I do get the power up. So now we're at the checkpoint. I don't think this one is too difficult. It's a little challenging. The frogs can be a pain in the ass because they kind of slow down what you're trying to do. So yeah, I guess we left an extra death in this fucking thing, but soon enough it'll end. I definitely died a decent number of times on this section. So you may want to wait for it and jump like any other area. These guys, I recommend just jumping and mashing attack, which we're going to be doing on the final boss, jumping and mashing the attack button, not just hitting it once. That way we can more reliably connect with the boss. Since you'll get multiple strikes in the air, you have a better chance of landing your hit. It wouldn't let me up the ladder. I don't know what the fuck, but there it goes. So now, I'll die on this guy, but he only takes like 2 fucking hits, so it's not a big fucking deal. So now we'll see how to do it, but it's only a 2 hit. It's like, it's kind of a bullshit boss, just 2 hits. Bullshit in a too easy kind of way, but I'm not complaining about that shit, I like seeing the games go on the kill list, but the last fucking, the last stage was a huge fucking pain in the ass. Almost didn't beat the game, because of that. I did quit for a while. There's not too many games that I actually stop playing and say fuck it with these types of games, but this was one of them. So it starts off easy. You're going to have to practice this guy probably a little bit, but you only got to hit him twice for the first phase, so not much to say there. Then just jump to this cloud. You can kind of just keep going. You don't have to fight that hovering guy. Now get to this position and smack this guy in the ass when he jumps over you. That's going to do an extra hit point of damage to him, which I think the boss has a total number of hit points at the end of the fight. So if you don't hit him there, you may have to hit him more times on the final phase, and you really don't want that shit. You want to only have to hit him 4 times. So now crouch here in the specific position. This is a safe spot, but not really. It only works sometimes, but it does work. So you're going to be grinding this and doing this over and over again, hoping that it works, which is a little bit intense, but this is the easy fucking part. Trying to actually hit this fucking guy through the bubbles is insane. You do have to hit him twice to defeat him. And you may reduce the hit points of the final form so that you only have to hit the final form twice. So if you do figure out how to hit that guy twice, you may save yourself trouble in the final form. Keep that in mind. I didn't test this, but I saw other videos where the final form took 2 hits. So I'm guessing that's what they did. So for this part, you're going to want to jump and mash the sword button so that you hit him. And if you do it just right, you'll have enough time to get in the gaps of the flames, but it's super fucking hard to do. I can't do it consistently at all. What I do is I stay just out of range, behind one of the masks a little bit, just out of range so that he'll appear, because otherwise he'll never appear. He'll keep teleporting and disappearing constantly. So, I can't really give this a really proper explanation. All I can really say about it is doable. It takes 4 hits. Now, it may take 2 hits if you do that bubble phase and hit him twice in the bubble phase. Good fucking luck with that. I've only done that like maybe once or rarely ever. It's insane. And I got lucky. But you can also, in that bubble phase, you can hit him from underneath the cloud too, but it's super fucking dangerous to try to do that because there's tons of bubbles under there usually. So I recommend timing out the second form. I also recommend only killing the flying enemies that you see me kill, and the way that I move is very specific to get through that. Very easy. You'll do that enough times because you're going to die a lot. There's no checkpoints in the final stage. As I said, it probably took me like 4 hours just to beat this final stage. But with the boss, you want to stay just out of range so that you spawn him to appear. And then ideally, you want to wait like a split second before you jump, so that he initiates an attack while you're in midair. But if you do it wrong, like he'll attack at the wrong time and the flames will just kill you instantly. So it's like really fucking hard to get right. And sometimes I can find a rhythm with it, but 90% of the time I just die on that fight. It's really fucking hard. But I recommend just practicing that final form with save states and trying to get into a rhythm with that. When you jump towards the boss, though, you want to be mashing the attack button. It will increase your chances of connecting with him. You can also try to run towards him and smack him in the knee real fast, and then if you do it just right, you can get pushed back to where you don't go into the flames. I saw a video like that where they got the positioning perfect, but I couldn't do it. The most consistent method for me was jumping and mashing the attack button, but I jump just out of range so that he will appear. And then you got to rinse and repeat that. Now, ideally, once he's appeared and I've hit him already once, I try to like scare him away the second time, because he'll stay in the same position sometimes and shoot more flames. So you got to learn how to jump around those flames and try to like strike really close to where he's at, and it'll scare him away and I'll go to the other side. And the reason I try to do that is so that I can start that pattern again where I jump towards him and mash the button, as I was explaining. I try to repeat that pattern, but if he stays in one place, I can't repeat that pattern again until he teleports to the other side. So you can kind of scare him away to the other side by striking close to where he's at. You probably won't hit him again, when he's doing that, when he's staying in place like that, but sometimes you will. But that's really not ideal because it kind of fucks up the pattern for me, to where I'll hit him and then I'll get... The biggest problem is when you hit him, you get knocked back and you lose your sword. When you get knocked back, you almost always go into his fire. That's like the biggest problem with the boss. There's also, like I said, there's like wind in the game. When you jump, you get pushed back a little bit for some weird reason. That will fuck you up too. So it's extremely difficult. Just keep all that in mind and try to follow what I did. If you have any questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.